Hi everybody, welcome to the Coloring Oasis and this color along. I will have to do this video in multiple parts. This is part 1, so please come and color with me. We're going to do a cute, adorable picture in this beautiful book by Julia Spiri, An Enchanting World. I have not colored in it yet. I have colored in a similar one. These are very lovely, light grayscale, super cute images. And the paper is light. I believe it's I think it's the Amazon paper. I'm pretty sure. But pencils work really nicely in this book. So what we're going to color today is this adorable cutie. It reminds me of a My Little Pony, which I love. I'm a big 80s fan. I have a huge 1980s coloring book collection, 3-part video series coming out soon. But we're going to do this today, and we're going to do it in primarily the Brutfuner squares. And I'm going to show you those, and I might use some Sharpie backdrops or a few other things, and you can follow that, or you can tweak it from there. These are the Brutfuner squares. The paper cover that has like all the rainbow swirl you see when you look up the Brutfuner squares got ripped when I was opening it. So they're in this tin. I have not colored with them yet, so this whole picture is highly experimental. I have used the Brutfuner 520 set, and I do actually like those a great deal, and I've been using them on the similar paper in a different book, which I will do a video of soon. So I've already taken out the colors, some of the colors I want to start with. But in this set, and this set, by the way, these Brutfuner squares, it was like 25, 35 bucks. And I've heard they're pretty good pencils. I did sharpen a couple and try them just squiggly on some paper, and the color is nice. So here you have like a swatch. I don't know if you can see with the reflection of all of these different colors. You get, you have a swatch chart as well. And I took out some colors already and I sharpened some, but these are what they look like. They're square. And when I was holding them to do my tests on the little paper and sharpening them, I couldn't tell the difference. I mean, they feel a little bigger than a round pencil, but they're not uncomfortable in any way. And I found them to be just fine. The trays actually have these little pull-out things, which are nice. Way easier than the kind where you have to grab it right on the styrofoam. Easy, super easy to pull out. And again, I've taken out the ones I want to use. Is there another tray? No, there's 3 trays. So these are the Brutfuner squares. And as far as the 520 mega set, the regular Brutfuners, I have to do this picture first and then tell you what I think. And then we'll do that in a separate video, and then I'll compare. But I've heard good things about these pencils. They're a good price. I don't think you can go wrong. So I'm going to move this to the side. So I'm going to start with doing a pink pony with purple hair. I have the browns for the tree, the yellow for the hearts. I'm going to talk about doing grayscale, and I'm going to do some of the hearts in pencil. I might do a couple tests where I do a Sharpie pen or marker and do a pencil over it. And then we'll talk about options for the sky and so on and so on. So I will show you the colors I'm using. For the hair, which I want to go ahead and do first, I chose 3 purples, and I like to always do a dark and medium and light of a shade of a color when I'm using pencils. And so here's kind of my little test paper. And how do you know? You pick, I mean, if you don't already have a swatch, you can just test it out. Let's just color a couple and see. So, pushed too hard there. You can already see you have, I need to sharpen this. There we go. The darkest color was in the middle. So I'm going to do that color first, then the color I'm using, and then this first one last. And I line them up in order on my table so I don't get confused. So dark, medium, lighter. And then I move these off to the side in order so I know what is what. I need to make sure this shadow isn't going to show on the page. I might need to turn off this light. Hold on 1 minute here. Let's see if this is worse or better. I'm not sure. I'm doing this at night. There's still a shadow. I think that's better. Okay. So I'm going to zoom in. I can't zoom in. I can barely get it all, but I think I can. I'm going to zoom out and then I'll zoom back in. So what I want to do is we're going to take our darker purple, and these Brutfuner squares have, you know, the Chinese, I guess, names, color names, so I can't read them, but you can read the number. So this is 053. And since this was the darkest, I'm going to come in here to these darker grayscale areas, and the darker gray shows you where to put the darkest color. So grayscale can be really helpful, especially if you're new at doing grayscale. So it kind of starts darker here. We're just going to do it very lightly, light pressure. Resist the urge to push hard so you don't break your tips like I just did. Light pressure. See this, I'm barely touching and it's going on really nicely. And it's thicker dark here. So we're going to put some of this here, kind of around the whole edge of this piece of hair. I'm going to go over it again, just kind of build that layer. I'm going to do it on this middle piece here. Go over it kind of again. We might go over it again. So let's just stop there and go to our middle color. Our middle color is 014. And I'm going to very lightly go over what I just did, or kind of more right almost toward, just to where this color ends right before it, and start kind of going over that and starting to bring it into some of these whiter areas. I'm kind of blending it in along the edge, but I'm also bringing it further into the white. Very lightly. There's a little gray here. So you still want to leave some white in the middle because you're going to use your lightest color there. And so we do see I am seeing a lot of white through the paper here, but there's a way to fix this. We're going to move on to our lightest color, and this is the 099. So I'm just going to start lightly. These pencils are very nice. I'm pushing very light and I'm getting a good pigment. I'm going to start blending into the other and over the white here. And this is going to be a nice rainbow effect, a rainbow of purples. Now, what I do notice, if you push too hard, you get less pigment. It seems counterintuitive, but you get more pigment on the page when you press lighter and use more of a feather touch. Just filled in some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our darkest one now, the original one, which was the 053. And I'm going to go back over the edges, a little more pressure and little circle, and try to start darkening that first layer. Into that centerpiece, that stripe. And start. Now, I like the hazy look of these pencils or the other Brutfuners, or like even the inexpensive Crayolas on this light paper. I like the feathery look where you see a little bit of the white bits through it. It looks almost like makes it look almost like more pastel, I think. So don't worry about getting every white bit of the paper. So it's definitely darkening, going back over, as you can see. So let's go back to the middle color, which is the 014, and try to start going over again where we did that one. Gotta do kind of light. Building the layers. We're going to start blending over the other color now. And these might not have been the best purple matches as far as dark, medium, and light. One has a little bit more of a red in it. So the tones are off a little, but I'm still trying to see what we can do. I'm going to go now to the lightest color, the 099, and fill in the middle very light pressure. Start feeling it in, feeling it in. To be perfectly honest, my Brutfuner rounds from the 520 mega 2-box set went better on this paper, which in a different book by Tyson, and I'm just going to show you that in a second, than these do. Now, I like these pencils. There's nice pigment, but I liked the feathered look on those ones more. And I'm going to show it to you. We're just kind of filling in this purple a little more. We might go over this with a white also. I'm going to go back to the darkest one more time, and you don't have to keep trying to build layers. I'm just doing it to see what the pencils are capable of. Very lightly. And what you're going to find is, if you don't like a pencil the first or second time around, it's probably not the pencil, it's the paper. I have learned that every pencil performs like an entirely different pencil on different papers. And whenever you get a new set of pencils, try it on several different papers. A couple different coloring books that you think have different paper. The Amazon paper, a more expensive paper, 1 or 2 printer papers, and experiment. Because you cannot assume it's the pencil most of the time. So, just leaving a little of that. I'm going to go over it with some white. I'm going to show you real quick. This is the book. I use the Brutfuner rounds from my 520 set. I'm not quite done yet, but I'm telling you, I love these pencils. And this is the same paper, the same Amazon paper, the same type of grayscale. So it had this nice kind of light featherly look. So that I'm doing this other Brutfuner square on the same paper to kind of see what the difference is. So I'm going to finish this here, and we're going to come back in with our white and do some stuff. So let's go back to our darkest, which is the 053. And we're going to start filling in. And you want to keep this pretty sharp. I'm going to have to resharpen if you don't. I want to start doing some of these gray areas very light. Start out light, like it's just gliding over the page, like a very gentle skin tickle or skin massage without pressure. Yeah, these are a little slipperier on the page than the round Brutfuners. See, I already want to go ahead and sharpen this. Oh. I'll show you my sharpener, but it's awesome. Doing down here, here we go. Nice sharp point you want to keep. And that light feather touch. We're doing more of this dark area here. Back over. You keep running it back over here if you really want to. Let's go to our middle color, 014, and try to start kind of filling some of this in. Still doing the feather pressure just to get the first bits of those white sort of tooth filled in. You want it to look light and feathery and soft. We're kind of bringing this in a little. Now let's go to our lighter. This one even might be a little off. Oh well, I should have picked a different one, but that's okay. Live and learn, do it very light, very, very, very light, like I'm barely pressing the paper so it doesn't leave any streaks. Nice and powdery, like little fairy dust bits. I want to zoom in for you so you can see what's going on here. So your first layer is going to look very fairy dust-ish, right? Barely touching. And all the white flecks you're seeing are all the tooth that hasn't been filled in. This one has a couple layers so far. We're going to do some stuff with a white pencil here. So we're just building and the layers and filling in more tooth as we go. This was this lightest one. Go back to the dark one and start over. Go back to your dark areas and start putting in more. You can still do light, but maybe not quite as light, but you'll see it's getting darker with the second layer. So these are not necessarily blending pencils, they're layering pencils. And they're considered oily pencils. I don't know the exact chemical makeup of what's in the pencils. That's not something I'm ever interested in or my specialty. You're supposed to use a makeup brush for this, not your hand, because you'll smear the bits like I just did. Does leave a little bit of crumbs, but that's not abnormal. Prismacolor does that too. Again, we're darkening it a little more dark shadow along the back area of the pony, a little darker up here where the shadows are. Let's get the middle color again, which is the 014. Start blending that in, but come more to the center where we did that color before. Colors coming along together nicely. You can leave it light and feathery with the white sort of fairy dust bits, I like to call it. You can fill it in more if you like. Now we're going to go to our lighter color one more time and do 099. And I think overall I'm doing about 3 rounds of this. And then we still have to do the white. This one isn't showing quite as much. I didn't put as much pressure. But when I really push a little, just a little more, you see a lot more purple. All right, so let's go back to the dark. Depends on how dark I want to go with this look. I'm going to go into the dark, my original color, which was the 053, and do one more layer and fill in some of this white. You can go sideways to fill in the tooth a different direction. I just kind of like to do little circles, little squiggles. We're going to go over here where you want more dark shadow along the back again. Up under the face. Down here at the end of the hair. And so how many layers you want to try is up to you. I'm finding 3 is pretty good for these. When I get to some of the hearts, we'll try some harder pressure and we'll see what happens. So I'm pushing a little harder here with little swirls just to kind of get in some of that color more. And for years, I was not a straight colored pencil colorist, you know, like pencil was for accent. My early experiences with colored pencils were disastrous. Everything looked streaky and bad. I didn't understand how to do hand pressure, and I didn't understand how to make it look natural and smooth and real, and I didn't understand why there's little white bits on the page, and is that normal? Like, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. And in truth, I'm impatient. I want progress on my pictures faster. That's why I'm doing such a simple one. Fully colored pencils takes a lot longer. And I want to complete like a picture every 2 days, you know, maybe 3 tops. Sometimes I do 1 a day, you know. I want to have more at the end of the month to show that I've done than just 3 or 4 pictures. So I'm doing it harder here. A lot harder to where I'm squeezing my hand to really get some color in there, and it is working. It's definitely darker, so I'm going to try a little darker here with my first color again, which was the 053, and I'm doing it final time darker pressure than I was. It does apply a thicker pigment with pressure, so it is working in that regard, but you're going to really be working your hand if you want to do that. And one last time, so I guess I did 4 layers on this one. This is the middle color, the 014. I'm going to do it one more time here. All right, I think this is good. Go back on this one again around a little. Really blend in there. Yeah, if you have carpal tunnel, this is going to be rough, but I think it looks cute. And then I'm going to, we still have the top parts of the hair, but first I'm going to get a white pencil and show you what we can do with the white pencil. This white one I didn't think to get out before is on the bottom. We're going to test out their white. Here's their white. Nice chunky white. These back. Plops right back in. I do need to get a pencil case for these, but these are brand new. All right. I want to get my brush. Hold on. Where is my powder brush? Oh, darn it. Why do I always lose things? Okay. So weird. Oh, it's over here. Oh, where are you? Oh, I have a soft, unused makeup brush that I use to get off my. Oh, it's over here. Here it is. Sorry. So this is a foundation brush. I got it at Ulta. You can use this when you have, if you have crumbs or little bits, just to do this. If you do your hand, it's gonna smear, which it did twice. Okay. So we're gonna go in with the white. Let's go into this first one with the white, and it'll cut lightly. We're going to lightly blend this in, very light, and see what happens, and see if it can kind of soften up and blend our colors. Very light. So generally, I don't like to do a tutorial on a medium until I've used it before and I know exactly how to work with that medium. So this is a brand new experimental medium and pencil from scratch that I did not pre-test, and I'm totally, like, I don't know how they perform, so we're kind of winging it here. Very light. We're just bringing in that white. It's not making a huge difference, not so much as a Prismacolor would. I can tell you the Brutfuner ones, I used white on top of everything I showed you in that picture. I'm sorry, the round Brutfuners. And I thought it was a very nice touch. So I'm going to add it on here, and then I'm going to zoom in. This white will just kind of blend the colors. It'll soften everything. It kind of makes it just look more fluffy and pastelish. Don't push too hard. You don't want white streaks. You can just do the light areas. You can do all of it. I'm just doing all of it because why not? I want to test the white. And we'll take a look. All right. Don't want to keep your hair all day, so we're going to brush this off and zoom in. Here's what we have. So I think it turned out nice. We have about 3 layers on this and 4 layers on this part of hair, with the dark, the medium, and the lighter, which is more of a real purple, whereas the other ones are a little more, I don't know, magenta-ish. And the white went over it to just kind of soften it all together. I did a little too hard right there, but I think overall it's looking nice. I think it's looking nice. So let's finish the hair, and then we're going to move on to the body. If you want, you can follow, or you can fast forward till we get to the body and do the rest of this yourself. So make sure you have a nice fine point, especially for the first layer. This is pretty sharp, but it's flat right now. So I'm going to sharpen it. My favorite sharpener that I use, that I have on my desk, is the Jar Link. It is fantastic. It works great for these Brutfuners. The round ones, these square ones, put it on in there, straight down. It's on the 3rd setting. It has an automatic stop. It'll stop when it's sharp enough. You just have to push and keep it straight. Stop by itself. Nice sharp point. It does have a number 1 and 2 setting. Number 1 is really sharp, and it tends to, if you get too sharp, depending on what type of pencil, it can break. So I just keep redoing that because I want it nice and sharp. So we're going to do the rest of this hair with our dark, the 053. Let's go again, light I'll try to speed it up a little over these grayscale areas. If you're new to colored pencils, regardless if it's this pencil or any, the biggest advice I can give you is, it took me years to figure this out. Practice, practice, practice your grip and your pressure. When we're kids and we're using colored pencils, you know, you're desperate with pencils to get the pigment down on the page. So you're tempted to color in harder and really fill that in, but it leaves streaks. It leaves kind of like lines, like pencil lines. You're looking for a nice, feathery, powdery, soft, natural look. So with mini pencils, you get more pigment on the page when you press lighter. So I'm just gonna barely touch it, especially with the Brutfuner rounds. Barely gonna touch this. Barely, like, and I keep, one way to do this is if you feel like you're clenching your pencil too hard, you have to keep making yourself relax your hand, and you have to almost let go of the grip and barely be holding it. And just, you can even do little circles, little squiggles. Just do it light. You want to go over these lines here. This is still our darkest color. Just lighten that pressure until you get that light, gentle feather look. It is very hard for me to go lighter. It's really hard because I'm more of a heavy-handed. But when you do harder pressure, if you're going to do harder pressure, you don't want to do that until your final layers most of the time. You want to build those base layers and get that tooth filled. So there's the hair. And also, if you push straight in too hard, the color, like, it's almost like it slips right off the paper or something. It's hard to describe. Doesn't fill the tooth so much. We're going to go in and do... Uh-oh. Am I using my light one by accident? Sometimes you might actually put them back in the wrong spots. Yes, I am, and that one was too sharp. Yes, I am. So I actually just used my center one second. So keep your pencils in the right order. Dark, medium, light. So we need to go to the dark one. I'm sorry, the medium one, which is 014. I need to do a little more. And see, when you push too hard, you can break your tips too. And then you just resharpen it. So I'm blending in my medium color now. You have to have a lot of patience to do straight colored pencils and to really master your colored pencil techniques. You can't be in a hurry to get your color down. You have to, if you have carpal tunnel, you're going to have a hard time. You want to probably go more for the water markers or pens or alcohol markers or something like a luminance or something where you barely touch the paper and it's dark, dark color on a pencil. Okay, so we're going in, speeding it up just a little, round and round. Now let's go with our lighter at the lightest, which is the 099, right? 099. Very lightly fill in that white here. It's like you're just tickling the page. See, I just did some swirls and it actually is showing a swirl here. I'm just trying to speed it up because we're doing this in real time and I don't want to keep you guys. So I'm liking these pencils so far. It definitely works better. The test paper I have that I've been showing you is my Nina printable that I use for most of my marker artwork that I've showed you in my what I completed photos from my Etsy printables. But I don't think these pencils aren't, it's too smooth on that paper. The paper's too smooth. So you definitely, this paper is way better for that light feathery look for the pencils. Okay, so we're gonna go to the dark again, try to rebuild our layer. Then we're going to start on our pony, or maybe I'll start on the tree. I'm not sure. And there are things we can do to come back and tweak things, to bolden the color after the fact if we don't think there's enough colored pencil pigment. There's a lot of things we can do at the end. But I like with these light, vintage sort of inspired grayscale pictures. I like very light touches with my pencils. Almost so it looks nice and feathery. See, this section here, I was kind of talking about pressing art, so I was kind of showing you, and it's harder to get the color in because it left streaks and you can't reach all those pockets. So again, slow and steady wins the race. Okay, it still needs another layer to get to match the other two. And again, you can see this is a time-consuming process. I think I mixed up my... Sometimes if your pencil rolls, it'll mix up your order. So yeah, darker, medium, light. Okay, back to my darkest. We're gonna just try to get one more darker layer in here. You can experiment. Feel free to do dark in some areas and really push if you just want to learn about the pencils. You just want to learn, you want to get to know your pencils like you would get to know a new computer. You got to experiment. You have to play with them. You have to get in there and try different things. See what happens when you do X, Y, and Z. See what happens when you click here, open this, do that. And get to know your pencil. So don't be afraid to mess up. Don't be afraid. It might look streaky or not be perfect. You know, even this page, if you're coloring along, consider it like a practice to get to know the pencils. Or maybe you have the pencils, so you can even do something better. All right, so let's go to this medium one again. One other option is we'll try this on the hearts, is to do a marker base layer, which can save you a lot of time filling all that tooth, and then just do a few pencils over it, which is so much faster. It doesn't have the same look. It'll look more solid. And then, so it's different. I might come back later and touch some of this up once we're all done. Before I start part 2 of the video, I just want to finish this hair for you guys. We're going to do this light one again, and then we're going to do the white. This piece I went a little faster, so when you go faster, it doesn't have quite the same effect. So I can touch that up later. But we're going to go back. I'm going to do the white on this very lightly to give it that kind of a soft blending we were doing on the other side. Can do that here. I'm excited to try the pinks I have chosen for the body. My fingers are getting a little tired, I'm going to admit. That's another reason I do this in different parts. That white really helps smooth things up if it looks scratchy or liney. This is a good white. I do like it. There are other things we can do. We're going to use some stickles in this picture and some other stuff. Ooh, my hand hurts. I'm going to probably come back here and fix some of this hair here. Oh no, I got some on her fur. I might need to fix that a little, but I can come back and do that later. Okay, so zooming in. How long do we have? 34. Here we have her hair. Beautiful purple pony hair. So I'm going to move on to, I think I'm going to move on now in this first part to the tree trunk, because I think this part's going to take a while and my videos are at 34 minutes. So I have 3 browns picked out for this. We have the darker 024. I have kind of a sort of a medium 117. And the lightest, or the final color, is the 020. So I want to take the 024, and I'm going to start on this branch over here. And I wonder if I can zoom in for this whole part, you guys. I'm just learning how to use my zoom feature after all this time. Seriously. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to, it's a little darker up here. So I'm going to very lightly do some darker up here where the gray, dark gray scale is. I'm going to come down to this base and do some very lightly up along the sides, kind of like an outline. The skinniest branch, you want the darkest. A couple of these lines. You can do your second layer over it before you, if you want, before you go to the next part. Okay. Then the second color is this 117, and I'm going to work down very gently. Leave some whites in the middle, and I'm going to overlap my colors down here. Not all the way to the base, but just half of it, because we're going to go back over that with some dark. I'm going to just kind of fill in some of this tree here. And then the final light brown is 020. Oh, that one needs to be sharpened. Nice and sharp. Okay, let us just very lightly get into this white center part with this lighter, nice kind of more of a golden brown. That way your tree will look like it has some shadows. So I'm going to go back to the darkest again, the 024, and go back over where I originally did the dark and see that color immediately darken. A little darker right where it connects to the tree. You can actually push a little because you want to have a little more shadow here. Maybe right up here too. Okay, let's get to that medium one again, which is the 117, sorry. Don't, still keep it kind of light. We don't want streaks. Since this is such a light grayscale, the lines are very pale, so you can almost cover the lines with your pencils. You don't have to, but... Then the final light brown is the 020. Ah! Don't let it fly out of your hand. Let's escape the runaway pencil. Let's get in here and just kind of use this light to gently blend all those browns together. Pull your other dark brown down. You don't have to use the white on this, but we can try it and see how it looks. So keep a little of the white flecks in the middle then. Okay, my brush. Let's get this white. It's got a little purple on the end, so let's sharpen it. Okay. I'm gonna very lightly go over this center part, and it's just like, it's like softening it. It's almost like a primer, like a blender almost. And you can only go over the center lightest pencil with the white, more in the center. Over here we covered all of it with the white. You can do that. Let's just do that one for this one. Only going over the center lighter parts. Maybe a little bit up here. Can't help it. I think that looks pretty nice. Okay, let's go into the main part of the tree. With our darkest, we are again at the 024. So let's start at this big, shoot. Oh, we're gonna start at the bottom of the root. We're just gonna very lightly start going in. Thin the gray lines. This is where you're really tempted to do big streaks because you want to cover more ground faster, but try to resist the urge. Slower is better. You can do a little dark over the lines, but we can do that when we come back around the second time. Let's go down here. Very gentle, light circles. It's kind of going upwards, so I'm rotating the book a little. Uh-oh, am I out of the camera view? Hope not. Oh god, I am. I gotta zoom back out, you guys. Sorry. Here we go. My bad. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're doing up here all the way up. Trying to keep it nice and light. This kind of veins here, I'm gonna go over it with this darkest one. A little darker, and then the tree goes under the pony's hair right here. Just keep it nice and soft at the base. Now I'm gonna kind of do it randomly. So I'm gonna kind of do some dark streaks here in the middle, kind of over where the veins are. I'm losing my sharp point. I'm gonna go up here and go down, go to this branch and kind of, we're still on the darkest pencil, by the way. This is the 024. Just kind of go over these tree veins, give it some shadow. Then I'm going to go around to the edges, but leave white areas in between all of this, right? We're just kind of outlining with the darkest part. We're doing the veins. We're kind of doing around the edges of the tree. And I'm doing a little faster on this, but I'm doing it very lightly. It's like I'm going, if you were touching someone's back and their skin, you're just doing this like you do a baby to try to get them to fall asleep, instead of like that, you know, or the tickle. You're just kind of smoothing. You're kind of like smoothing it over, gliding it over the paper is what we're doing. Very light. All right. One more time here. All right, so gotta go a little bit more dark right around here. So let's get our second brown, which is the 117. And start at the top. Let's start working our way down some. But remember, we want to leave some white spots for that lighter brown. So we're going to blend in, bring it down, and kind of fill in part of some of these white areas. It's kind of random, you know. You have to just sparse out your multiple colors here and leave some white. Try not to go too quickly, which I just did. Blending, bringing in some of this white, covering some of this white. Maybe I'll do some here in the center along this other darker vein. Kind of like this. I'm just doing very light back and forth. Good way not to let your hand get tired. A little bit we can blend in down here. All right. So then we're going to go to the lightest brown, which is the 020. And obviously we're going to very gently start going over the whites and more toward the middle, lightly blending in with the last medium brown we did. Lightly blending that in. Your final white spots that you haven't done yet. Very light. Careful. So tempting with these bigger areas to just go, and I caught myself doing it, but thank goodness if you're doing it light enough, it should still give that nice fairy dust feather look. So this tree does need multiple layers. Okay, so back to the dark layer. Here we go again. Now, can you see anything if I zoom? What can you see? That backfired. Right there. So this is kind of what it looks like now. We have all this kind of feathery look. Gonna keep it like that. We'll be able to see. I think so. I'm gonna try that. So I'm just gonna take this darker one and we're gonna start, well, we're gonna sharpen. I'm gonna start going back over the darkest first areas. More pressure, a little. Start deepening that first layer of dark, which we did up here. It's taking the pigment. It's the paper tooth is taking the layer. Otherwise you wouldn't see it getting any darker. It would just be like going over it and nothing's happening. Did push a little too hard there earlier, which made it kind of tricky. I want to go over my dark veins in the center again. I want to gently go over these sides again. It's a little darker at the edges. I generally prefer to do trees with markers for sure. I do the same process with 3 different shades of brown with like my Copic markers, or any of my my Spectrum Noirs or my Prismacolor markers. It's so much faster and it's smooth, and it wouldn't have like this feathery look. So it really depends on the look you're going for. But we were trying to test out the pencils on most of a whole picture, so that's what we're doing here. Definitely have to work it for these bigger objects to get the color in. And go opposite directions to fill that tooth up. Let's get it darker down here again. Okay, we can get into our next lighter brown now, I think. And it does feel a little repetitive after a while. I often like to think that I'm going a little faster than I normally would, so you're not here all day. 117 is the middle color. We're gonna start bringing this one back in. Try to darken it a little. This was our second lightest brown. I'm going to put a little more pressure to get this blended here, just in this tree. You can see it really, when you get to like this second and third layer, you can go darker, it looks like. I'm really pressing here to see, and it is laying on thicker. Yeah, so that's working. Ugh, don't do that. I always forget. But again, you're gonna lose that light dusted look. I'm going over these veins. Lighten. Once you go too dark in some areas and then light in others, it's not gonna look right. It's gonna look kind of feathery, and then it's gonna look super dark in other areas. It's just not gonna match. Normally I'd probably spend double as long on this tree if I'm going, not doing a video. I'm just lightly going over some of that darker brown, but we're gonna build that again one more time too. I went a little too dark, so yeah, it does streak when you go too dark too soon. I should have waited till about the third or fourth layer for that. Let's get the lighter brown, which is the 020, and start getting into these center areas again. Yeah, so this is very tiring. It's hard on the wrist. It's hard on the hand if you start putting pressure. If you do light, it doesn't ever bother your wrist, but I get impatient. This tree could have used probably 4 to 5, but I'm trying to knock it out in 3, which we're on the third one now. Ugh, see, my hand's hurting because I am doing it harder. Not all, just some areas harder. Okay. See a few darker touch-up areas that needs to occur. We can bring this even down here a little. This lighter color. I can tell you that my hand is going to hurt tomorrow. This is 024. I'm supposed to be wearing a brace. I do wear it whenever I'm not doing my art, but I hit it. I'm back on the dark one again. I'm lightly bringing. I might even go over it with a dark brown marker to make it more smooth at these branches here. So yeah, so far I think these squares are going to work better for smaller areas. Unless you have a ton of time and patience. I prefer the darker feathery look over the, the light feathery fairy dust look over the getting in there with the dark pigment. We're about done with part 1 of our video because it's probably already so long it's going to take 2 days to upload. So at the time you see this, the other part 2 may not be on here yet, but you can work your way through. Get the second brown again, which is this 117. I'm going to, yeah, so we did darker too quickly, so now it's going to be really hard to cover any more white tooth. That's why you want to do layers. This was a layering pencil. I can fix some of this later. Let's get the, oh wait, is this the lightest? Yeah, it is. So I can go into the center here. But I'm gonna actually go in with a white. See if we can tidy this up. So let's go in with the white. And this is just a kind of a quick job. Very lightly, I'm gonna, again, smooth these lighter center parts of the lightest color. To give it a nice, softer, blurred, almost blurred look, which will fix any of the streaking. Anything like that. Might still have to deal with some of these darker parts, but So I guess you don't want to do your white over the dark vein. So we're going to have to go back over and fix that. Is there any light parts up here I want to do this? Already did it here. Yeah, so we want to get my dark again, even a brown marker. And you don't want to go over your dark vein with the white like I did. See if you can go back over the white. Yes, you can. So that's good. Kind of fix that. Got some little more. I'm going to tidy up this picture at the end and go back and get the rest of this little brown feathering, like little white paper that's still showing through, and fix that up. I'll go over this a few more times, but just quick job. I wanted you to be able to see how you can do this tree. And of course you can keep working it and the layers as much as you would like. So let's zoom out. This is what we have so far. So in part 2 of the video, I'm going to do the body of the horse. I'm going to finish the tail off camera because we already know how to do this purple hair. And then the next video we'll do the body of the horse, and this and probably the heart. And then the last video we'll probably do the tree hearts and the grass. So that is part 1 of my color along with me using the Brutfuner squares, testing them out. So far I think I'm liking them, but we'll see what happens in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.